Chapter 180 A Sovereign-like Victory. Bang. Huo Yuao couldn't help it as he shut the door to his room. After that, he quickly ran to the washroom to clean his face. Nana couldn't help but laugh as she stood outside his room. It seemed like dealing with him was just this simple. She had been overthinking things. How bad could such an innocent young man be? Suddenly, her body jerked. Since he can restrain my spirit, it means that he can also. As she thought of this point, she started to become excited. She turned around and wanted to knock on his door again. She lifted her hands, and her breathing became a little rapid. She muttered to herself, "Don't be anxious. Don't be anxious. I'll find him when the competition ends. I hope that he can really do it." As she spoke, she clenched her fists tightly. However, the excitement on her face couldn't be concealed. Huo Yuao sat on his bed for half an hour before he entered his meditative state. He wondered whether he was the one punishing Nana, or if she was the one punishing him. Morning. Huo Yuao awoke from his meditation. He was filled with energy. He opened his windows, and clear air flowed into his room, refreshing him. After a night of rest, his energy had been restored, and he was in his best condition. His soul power circulated, and streaks of white gas rose from his body before he inhaled them again. Huo Yuao was delighted to discover that his overnight cultivation was equivalent to 10 days of normal cultivation. It seemed like sufficient pressure was beneficial to his cultivation. I should be under greater pressure today. Let it come then. The golden light in Huo Yuao's spirit eyes shone at this moment as the first ray of sunlight shone down. A dim purple appeared in the sky, and Huo Yuao used his purple demon eyes to absorb this color. The Soul Tool experimentation arena was just as packed as yesterday, but it was much quieter and more peaceful today. Many of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy students sacrificed sleep to watch the competition, and hadn't had a good night's rest. Huo Yuao had shocked them too much with the difference between a Soul Master and Soul Engineer's fighting styles. It was also their first time witnessing the abilities of a powerful Soul Master. They now understood why Shrek Academy was so dominant on the continent. The increased use of Soul Tools represented progress, but Soul Masters had been around for many generations. It would take a long time before Soul Tools could suppress Soul Masters in a battle. At the very least, Soul Engineers couldn't do it now. The Class 6 Soul Engineers from illustrious Virtue Hall were going to compete today. Could Huo Yuao maintain his winning streak? Wages were still being accepted, but there was only one choice. The odds were still 5 to 1. However, the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy students didn't think they had a chance to win. Jing Hengchen also arrived at the main spectator stand early. He had been greatly affected by the competition yesterday. Huo Yuao was only 15 years old, but was shockingly rich with actual combat experience. Although he didn't think Huo Yuao was that strong, there wasn't anyone the same age that could match up to him. Were his grandchildren even that capable at his age? Perhaps the only problem with Huo Yuao was that his soul power increased very slowly. This was something that Jing Hengchen was slightly comforted by. Otherwise, he would need to come up with ways of dealing with the young man before he became a serious danger to the Empire. After a period of setup and resolution, the matter regarding the attack on the base of illustrious Virtue Hall was finally suppressed. But it had also forced Jing Hengchen to join the Crown Prince's side. With his support, the Crown Prince had now gained an absolute advantage. The two remaining competing princes lost ground immediately. The Sun Moon Empire Emperor's condition was worsening, and no one knew how much longer he would live. Jing Hengchen's only wish was to restore Test Subject 1. After all, it was incomplete. No one besides him knew the password to activate it. Without the password, it was only a stack of rare metals. While dismantling the stack of metal and selling it would definitely be valuable, it was still better than exposing illustrious Virtue Hall's greatest secrets. A dim light flashed, and Huo Yuao revealed a faint glow on his face. He was much calmer when he arrived at the Soul Tool experimentation arena for the second time in 2 days. He also didn't provoke anyone today, as he just wanted to use this sparring competition to enhance himself. Since he couldn't leave, he would use these 2 years to become even stronger. In yesterday's competition, he had intended to suppress his skills to prevent being exposed, but after a night of cultivation, this intention had already disappeared. That's because he believed that he could only benefit if he gave his all to the fight. There were still 2.5 years left until the next Elite Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Soul Dueling Tournament. Shouldn't he be trying to become stronger and more capable in these 2.5 years? Moreover, most of his capabilities couldn't be understood by mere visual observation. To ensure greater improvement, Huo Yuao set his mind to not hold back in today's competition. He wanted to go all out. In addition, he also knew that his competitors today were the elites. The Class 6 Soul Engineers weren't just one class above Class 5 Soul Engineers. They were all from illustrious Virtue Hall. Their understanding of Soul Tools and excellence in Soul Tool production was far superior to the students that he sparred with yesterday. Huo Yuao was unsure of how many of them he could beat today, but he was determined to give his all. The referee was still Sun Zwen. As he watched Huo Yuao, he felt slightly envious. He was young once. When he was young, he was also an outstanding talent. However, he seemed to lack something compared to Huo Yuao. He lacked the sharpness, as well as the stability to wield that sharpness. His student was only 15. However, why did he feel as if he were interacting with someone of the same age throughout their entire exchange? What price did the young man pay to attain such maturity? Sun Zwen smiled as he asked, "Yuao, how was your rest last night?" The first thing that popped up in Huo Yuao's mind was Nana's body. He forced a smile and replied, "It was rather good." Sun Zwen said, "That's great. Today, your opponents are going to be stronger. After discussing things with the Hall Master yesterday, we've agreed to let you use Soul Tools today. After all, you only have 4 Soul Rings. If you're restricted too much, it'll be unfair. This isn't the Academy style. Do your best to strut your stuff today and unleash your full abilities." Huo Yuao was stunned for a moment. "I'm allowed to use Soul Tools? The Hall Master must be interested in how I combine Soul Tools with my martial souls." Sun Zwen replied, "I don't know that about that. If you're absolutely confident in yourself, you don't have to use them." Huo Yuao laughed. "Why not? It's nothing anyway. Since we're sparring, I have to live up to the meaning of it. I just hope that my competitors don't disappoint me today." Sun Zwen looked at him with a meaningful gaze and said, "You won't be disappointed. Go and prepare yourself." Huo Yuao nodded and shut his eyes. He focused and circulated his mysterious heaven technique. He quickly adjusted his body to its best condition. In truth, he didn't think that he could beat 26 Class 6 Soul Engineers from illustrious Virtue Hall. It was unrealistic to think that he could defeat all of them in one day unless his light of destiny could be used continuously. That might give him a glimmer of hope. But Sun Zwen's words gave him hope again. If he could use Soul Tools, it was a different matter. In terms of Soul Tools, Sun Zwen recognized his abilities in Soul Tool use and production. Even though his soul power wasn't up to par yet, this also meant that he wasn't that inferior to the Soul Engineers from illustrious Virtue Hall. Perhaps this was the first test he had to take after choosing the close combat path. Huo Yuao started to become excited as his competitive will was peaked. Fighting was the best way to test his abilities. He became extremely focused now. After getting approval from Jing Hengchen, Sun Zwen returned back to the stage. Lin Jie was still the MC for the sparring today. His voice boomed out through the sound amplifying Soul Tool. "Teachers and students, today is the second day of the sparring against Shrek Academy. It will still be Huo Yuao competing on behalf of Shrek. After yesterday's competition, I'm sure all of you have witnessed the difference in fighting style between a Soul Master and a Soul Engineer. I hope that all of you can use this chance to discover your own problems and enhance your real-life experience with Soul Masters. At the same time, I hope that all of you can work hard and be like Huo Yuao, achieving glory for your academy. Today, we'll be sending out Class 6 Soul Engineers from the illustrious Virtue Hall. We have 20 of them with us today. We'll carry out as many rounds as we can until dinner time. The competition's about to start. Please observe carefully and reference what you see with your own abilities. If you can learn something from this sparring competition will be a success. Due to the gap in cultivation, Huo Yuao will be allowed to use his own Soul Tools today. All of you must also carefully watch how he combines his martial souls with Soul Tools. This is especially pertinent for students from the active control Soul Tool department. All right, the competition's going to start." Huo Yuao was still the center of attention, but he wasn't treated like an enemy anymore. Whether it was in the world of Soul Masters or Soul Engineers, one's abilities were the most important. Huo Yuao had already proven that he had true ability by being able to win 30 consecutive rounds against Class 5 Soul Engineers. Those with true ability were always respected, even in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Many of the other students were wondering how far Huo Yuao could progress as he faced the Class 6 Soul Engineers from the illustrious Virtue Hall. Many continued to wager today, but very few wagered on Huo Yuao. It was just like how Huo Yuao lacked self-confidence. No one believed that he could win all the way against the illustrious Virtue Hall's Class 6 Soul Engineers. At least, he couldn't win 20 consecutive rounds. But there were exceptions. For example, KK wagered 10 kilos of rare metal on Huo Yuao. Besides her, another female student also bet on Huo Yuao. She was Nana. Even Nana didn't understand why she did that. She wasn't exactly wealthy, and thus she only staked 100 gold soul coins. Sun Wen gestured for the first illustrious Virtue Hall's Class 6 Soul Engineer to enter. He was a youth that looked to be around 25 or 26 years old. He was burly. His short hair was brown, and he had a tan complexion. It was obvious that he was somehow related to the Imperial family. His arms were slightly longer than normal, and were thick. As he slowly walked into the Soul Tool experimentation area, his aura had already swept over Huo Yuao. But Huo Yuao wasn't fearful. He watched his opponent calmly, and was ready to enter his fighting mode. Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's illustrious Virtue Hall. Shen Musu. Shrek Academy. Huo Yuao. Sun Wen looked at both parties. He lifted his right arm before slamming it down. The competition begins. As he proclaimed the start of the match, both parties made their move. Shen Musu burst forward just like Huo Yuao. The gap between them was shrinking quickly. Shen Musu's hands were held at his side as he burst forward. He held a long dagger in each hand. These two daggers were the same. They were 4 inches long. Their hilts were thick and their blades were wide. A dirt yellow radiance was released. As his soul power was unleashed, there was an overwhelming sense of power. Earth type, close combat soul tool. Huo Yuao didn't unleash any soul tools. He acted the same way he had yesterday. There was helmet on Shen Musu's head with a colorless ruby mounted on it. This ruby shone weakly under the sun. There were bound to be heavy sparks in this clash between two close combat soul engineers. Both parties were getting closer and closer to each other. Shen Musu shouted, and his third soul ring started to shine. A layer of purplish light engulfed his body, and his aura became even more overwhelming. He stopped suddenly before leaping forward. He slashed his daggers towards Huo Yuao. The yellow daggers didn't seem to release any force. The air around Shen Musu's center also started to distort. Huo Yuao squinted his eyes. His toes touched the ground, and he sprang up from the ground in a swifter manner compared to Shen Musu. The dark golden terraclaws appeared once again. Just as both parties were getting closer and closer to each other, a wing flapped open from Huo Yuao's back. After that, he dodged to one side, avoiding Shen Musu's daggers. This happened instantly, and his dark golden terraclaws had already clawed towards Shen Musu's shoulder. He used this half of his flying type soul tool to displace his position. The wing of the flying type soul tool even flashed before disappearing. He must possess immaculate control. Even a class 6 protective soul barrier couldn't resist the destructive force of the dark golden terraclaws. But Shen Musu wasn't an easy target to deal with. He didn't panic. His sixth soul ring suddenly lit up, and a boulder armor surfaced in front of his body. The appearance of the boulder armor greatly increased his weight. He immediately landed back on the ground as he was dragged down by the increased weight. He even bore the attack of the terraclaws. Several rocks were peeled off from the armor as a screech was heard, but Shen Musu wasn't hurt. Huo Yuao was surprised that Shen Musu's daggers continued to slash down in the same trajectory. They stabbed into the ground. Bang, a deep rumbling sound was heard, and Huo Yuao felt a huge rocking motion beneath his feet. This rocking motion sent his body flying through the air. Following that, countless sharp spikes shot out from Shen Musu's body. These spikes were shot upwards to a height of 3 meters. Huo Yuao couldn't possibly avoid them. He was in great danger now. Lin Jie had pondered carefully before sending Shen Musu out to spar first. Shen Musu's helmet had a protective effect against spiritual power, and was designed to withstand attacks like Huo Yuao's spiritual shock, while his martial soul was a boulder, which wasn't easily curbed by Huo Yuao's ultimate ice. In addition, it was especially useful in close combat. Shen Musu was both offensively and defensively resolute. He was one of the best among the class 6 soul engineers in the illustrious Virtue Hall. However, they had still underestimated Huo Yuao. When he was jerked into the air, Huo Yuao could already sense the undulation from the ground. His spiritual detection accurately sensed the surge of his opponent's soul power. Huo Yuao could sense an immense force from the yellow daggers. Perhaps their speed couldn't increase by much, but their aura gave off an irresistible feeling. Huo Yuao had to be decisive under such a circumstance. That was why he unleashed the Ice Empress armor as he was sent flying. He tried to reduce the impact on him. Following that, everyone could see his body lighting up. An azure green radiance surged from his backbone. He opened his arms wide and braced his chest. An indescribable, mighty aura was exuded from his body. No soul rings lit up yet, but one could see the air around Huo Yuao distorting. After this, an azure green beam of light shot out from his belly. Right now, Huo Yuao was at Shen Musu's side. Shen Musu couldn't dodge this strike. He was struck directly. The heavy impact propelled Huo Yuao's body upwards. He avoided the spikes that came towards him, whereas Shen Musu's body had turned azure green. One of the soul skills of the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion skeleton, the Ice Empress Wrath. Huo Yuao had two choices. Either he unleashed the complete version of the Dark Golden Terraclaws, or he used the Ice Empress Wrath. He made his decision quickly. These two skills expended roughly the same amount of energy and power, but the Dark Golden Terraclaws were half a beat slower than the Ice Empress Wrath, as he needed to wield his arm. Huo Yuao tapped into the impact generated by the Ice Empress Wrath to make a revolution in midair. When his body unfolded again, his right hand was already out. The complete Dark Golden Terraclaws. He swept it toward his opponent, who was frozen still. Shen Musu's boulder armor was his 6th soul skill, and was even a 10,000-year soul skill. But Huo Yuao's Ice Empress Wrath was a 400,000-year soul skill. While Huo Yuao couldn't unleash its full strength, he had no trouble freezing Shen Musu on the spot. Stop. A golden barrel lit up in Sun Wen's hands. A cannon shell accurately landed on Shen Musu's body and turned into a golden light barrier that protected him. Huo Yuao's terraclaws didn't really strike him. They disappeared as a light projection flashed. His toes touched the golden light barrier, and he landed on the ground after he deflected himself into the air. Sun Wen was astonished. How's he able to retract his attack so easily after unleashing it so furiously? How good is his control? He didn't know that Huo Yuao couldn't retract his terraclaws if he unleashed the complete version. But it was another matter if he used imitation to imitate his terraclaws. He was going to face a series of tough battles today. Why would he waste his soul power? He could decide victory with the Ice Empress Wrath. Since Sun Wen intervened, it meant that he had won. After 10 seconds, Shen Musu's boulder armor was crushed, and his face turned pale. He staggered and almost collapsed to the ground. A layer of golden light flashed continuously on his body. It was evident that some protective soul tool had been activated. In truth, it was impossible for Huo Yuao's Ice Empress Wrath to overcome Shen Musu's boulder armor and class 6 protective soul barrier, while Shen Musu's armor was able to Huo Yuao's attack. It also restricted his own strength at a critical moment. After the armor was frozen, he couldn't break free even if he wanted to. Huo Yuao then used the Dark Golden Terraclaws to force Sun Wen into intervening. Shen Musu could only concede defeat. Shen Musu's brows furrowed as he looked at Huo Yuao. He was also shivering because of the extreme chill he had felt earlier. You've won, but I'm not convinced. Huo Yuao nodded his head and said, I know that. I can sense it. Your daggers are indeed powerful, and aren't easy to deal with. If I'm not wrong, the spikes were supposed to come at me relentlessly after they forced me to divulge my flaws. That's why I didn't give you the opportunity to unleash your full fighting strength. Let's hope I have another opportunity to spar with you again. Huo Yuao was also much more courteous against a worthy opponent. He was indeed impressed by Shen Musu's abilities. Shen Musu nodded at Huo Yuao before turning around. He told himself that he needed to place a protective soul barrier outside the boulder armor the next time he sparred with Huo Yuao. In that way, his defense would be even greater. Yet another victory. Another commotion ensued. This fight had been very short, and the spectators' stand was very far away. It was difficult to make out small events. While Huo Yuao seemed to win the fight quickly, it wasn't easy for him. He won because of his ultimate ice. The Ice Empress wrath froze his opponent's Earth-type 10,000-year soul skill. In addition, he had also tricked Sun Wen. Even if he had really used the complete Dark Golden Terror Claws, he might not even have been able to crush the boulder armor. Huo Yuao sat cross-legged on the ground and meditated as he returned to the waiting area. Although the Ice Empress wrath had depleted some of his soul power, he had no problem continuing. However, he realized how powerful the Class 6 Soul Engineers were after fighting Shen Musu. Although he was confident of going against them, he might lose if his focus and energy weren't at their best. After 15 minutes, Huo Yuao leapt up and nodded towards Sun Wen. The second Soul Engineer from the illustrious Virtue Hall was an ordinary-looking woman with an average figure. She looked to be almost 30 years old. Illustrious Virtue Hall, Jing Zian. This woman was the most concise among those who had competed against Huo Yuao. Shrek, Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao was also concise. The competition begins. Huo Yuao burst forward as usual. But this time, he let everyone witness his top speed. As he burst forward, 4 semicircular soul tools appeared behind his back. They revealed 4 nozzles as they flipped out. The 4 nozzles started to spurt fire backwards. 4 streaks of flames shot out, and Huo Yuao's body burst forward like a shooting star. Those with keen eyes realized that Huo Yuao was now covered by a layer of diamond ice crystals as the 4 streaks of bright flames shot out. He had no choice, as without the Ice Empress armor's protection, his body couldn't tolerate the incredible thrusting force or the wind resistance. However, Huo Yuao managed to reach a frightening speed with the explosive thrusting force. He covered 150 meters almost instantly, arriving right in front of Jing Zian with a terrifying aura. Jing Zian was very calm when she appeared, but when Huo Yuao's speed soared and he burst straight towards her, she was slightly surprised. Huo Yuao gave off a feeling like he was a powerful soul beast now. The Sovereign's descent seemed almost unstoppable as Huo Yuao's speed increased dramatically. What greeted Jing Zian was Huo Yuao's fist. It was covered by diamond ice crystals and combined both the Ice Empress pincer and the mysterious jade hands. He didn't use the Dark Golden Terror Claws because he couldn't combine both the Sovereign's descent and Dark Golden Terror Claws perfectly at such a high speed, but he still managed to control the speed, strength, intent, energy, angle, and timing of his fist precisely. This was Huo Yuao's true ability, as he unleashed an ultimate strike. Jing Zian drifted back instantly, and a layer of intense golden light shone from her body. It was an invincible barrier that could last for 3 seconds. Not only that, but a layer of thick purplish fog also surged up from her body. More accurately speaking, her entire body seemed to change into a ball of fog. Following this, her 5th soul ring lit up. She was much stronger than Shen Musu. She had 2 yellow, 2 purple and 2 black soul rings, the perfect combination of soul rings for a soul emperor. Huo Yuao had felt a sense of crisis, thus he unleashed such a powerful attack. Huo Yuao's fist struck the invincible barrier heavily. The collision caused the lights in the soul tool experimentation arena to dim a little. Did the weather change? The resolute invincible barrier started to crack after Huo Yuao's fist struck it. This crack started to extend, with his fist at the center of it, but it still looked like it had managed to resist Huo Yuao's strike. But did it really manage to resist his strike? The purplish fog instantly gathered within the invincible barrier and readopted human form. Jing Zian looked pale. Yes, the invincible barrier could withstand Huo Yuao's all-out strike. However, it couldn't resist the intent of his sovereign's descent. Jing Zian was forced back into her human form by this intent, and was even spiritually impacted. Catcher. The invincible barrier broke completely. A purplish light flashed in Huo Yuao's eyes before disappearing. Jing Zian groaned. The back of her head seemed to have hit by something extremely strong. Fresh blood started to flow from her nose. In the next instant, Huo Yuao's Dark Golden Terror Claws were already in front of her. However, he stopped 1 inch away from her, and watched her as she collapsed to the ground. She didn't pass out. She covered her head with her hands and groaned in pain. More blood started to flow out of her eyes, ears, and mouth. Huo Yuao braced his chest as he let his Dark Golden Terror Claws down. The entire place went silent at this point. He was just like a sovereign as he stood there, tyrannical. He only has 4 rings? Jing Hengchen muttered these words. Right now, he was in a daze. Absolute speed, absolute strength, and absolute dominance. Huo Yuao didn't even give Jing Zian a chance to counterattack before he entered the battle. He returned to the waiting area without uttering a word. He sat where he was originally and started to meditate. Only Sun Wen noticed that he was breathing heavily, and his right arm was trembling slightly. It seemed as if he could collapse. That strike. Huo Yuao must have had suffered a huge price to unleash such a powerful strike. It wasn't a speed that a Class 5 or Class 6 Soul Engineer could reach. With Huo Yuao's standard in Soul Tool production, he couldn't possibly create a Class 7 Soul Thruster, but he had used 4 Class 6 Soul Thrusters, allowing him to reach a speed equivalent to that of a Class 7 Soul Thruster. The impact on his body was very heavy at such a high speed. Moreover, he hadn't held back at all when he struck the invincible barrier. It was no surprise to him that he felt as if he was going to collapse. It was also no wonder Jing Zian lost to him. Sun Wen was very familiar with Jing Zian. That's because Jing Zian was his junior, and was once touted as a genius. The reason why she was only a Class 6 Soul Engineer now was because she got too greedy. She had researched all types of soul tools without choosing a path for herself. That was why she stagnated as a Class 6 Soul Engineer, but she still managed to enter Illustrious Virtue Hall, a testament to her talent. She was recognized as the queen of Class 6 Soul Engineers in Illustrious Virtue Hall. Illustrious Virtue Hall sent out Shen Musu and Jing Zian first in a bid to regain the face they had lost yesterday. However, both of them had now lost to Huo Yuao. They even lost very quickly. Sun Wen was shocked to realize that Huo Yuao had quickly entered a stable meditative state and stopped trembling after a while. Everything seemed to become calm again. The huge burden and pressure that he was under earlier seemed to have disappeared. His aura and soul power undulations returned to normal once again. Yes, this was how quickly Huo Yuao could heal. The immense life power of the life gold ensured that his body was very tough. Otherwise, he would have died when he saved Juzi and KK. The ultimate soldier plan had proceeded smoothly because of his ability to fight continuously for long periods of time. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.